Hello, everybody, and welcome into today's episode of Around the Slice. Of course, as we do every Monday, we are here, or every day after the game, I should say. It just so happens that for the last handful of weeks, it's been Mondays. Um, but the day after games, we give a recap on the Bills games, and I give my thoughts and break down everything and talk about a host and a multitude of different topics. So, without further ado, let's just get into it. So first, I will give you the score. I'm gonna preface this by saying, very, very stressful game. It basically came down. Well, not basically. It did come down to the very last play of the game. We'll get to that later. But wow, I mean, the Giants looked horrible on paper, and they still they only scored 9 points. So the defense was elite. Um, but Bills beat the Giants 14-9. Weird score, weird game. I mean, just all around weird, and we look lackluster for the first 3 quarters. But first, I will get to. So we had 6 inactives pregame. Safety Damar Hamlin. I've said it before. We don't need 5 safeties. Mike Hyde, Joe Poyer, Taylor Rapp, they're all going to be locks for active game day jerseys. And then Cam Lewis gets to head over Damar Hamlin because Cam Lewis is a special teams ace and one of the gunners on this team, theoretically. And then he can play safety, slot corner, and outside corner if you need him to. Cornerback Dane Jackson, this was because of injury. So our 2 starting corners were Christian Benford and Kyer Elam, and of course Taron Johnson slot. And then linebacker AJ Klein. I'm surprised they signed AJ Klein to the active roster when they did earlier this week, because they activated earlier this week. They opened Balin Spector, another second-year linebacker. Balin Spector's 21-day practice window, so 3-week practice window to return, and they took him off IR yesterday. So I guess if he was this close, I don't get why they signed AJ Klein to practice active roster. I'm assuming within the next 2 days they'll cut Klein as Spector gets healthier and re-sign him to the practice squad. I'm assuming, because you don't need 6 linebackers in the active roster with Terrell Bernard, Terrell Dotson, Dorian Williams, Tyler Matakevich, AJ Klein, and Balin Spector. You only need 5, and I would give Spector the nod here. But they went with Spector here because he's finally healthy and he provides much more special teams acumen, if you will. He's developing a nice special teamer. Him and Terrell Dotson, a nice linebacker combo to have on special teams. Maybe if we don't resign Tyler Matakevich, because especially being as emphasized with the new rules this year, maybe if we don't resign Tyler Matakevich after this year, then Balin Spector can hopefully become the next Tyler Matakevich, a multi-year fat special teams facet on this team, if you will. And then offensive lineman Jermaine Ifedi and Alec Anderson. Those are just very much down the depth chart offensive lineman. And then tight end Dalton Kincaid. I said this in my preview last Thursday, 4 days ago now, that I don't think he'll play because he was limited all week and he practiced all 3 days in some capacity, limited Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. But no player this season has come back and played the very next week or the same week even from being in concussion protocol. Because after the whole Tua debacle last year, you know what I'm talking about. Hopefully, after the whole Tua debacle last year, the concussion protocol is much more strict and the rules are much more strict to get back. So, which is good, protect the players, but that means we didn't run nearly as many 2 tight end sets, if rarely at all. Now, before we get into injuries in my stock report, I just want to. This isn't a rant, but I just want to. Excuse me. I just want to get this off my chest. The refs in this game were total garbage. Last week, the refs were garbage in London, and I'm sorry, but I got to be honest. Total garbage in this game. It started when the Giants kicked off and the Bills received the ball, and the Giants players are all, ganging up on Spencer Brown. There's like 8 Giants players there, and Spencer Brown's trying to protect himself, and he barely shoved anyone, and then they say there's a penalty on both teams. I don't know why Spencer Brown got a penalty. He was ganged up at 8. It was 8 Giants versus 1 Bill. And then the first drive of the game, we had to punt because on 3rd down, Josh Allen threw a dart to Gabe Davis, but the he got interfered with. It was clear pass interference. The ref said, "Oh, whatever, just let him play. No big deal." The broadcast said in the replay, Chris Collinsworth, of course, he sides with the refs. He said, "Whoa, they got feet tangled up." Yeah, he got his fit tangle up because of the Giants defender. You could see in the replay clearly, clear as day, that the Giants defender pushed Gabe Davis to the ground and he tangled his feet for him. The Giants defender tangled Gabe's feet. And then the second one, kind of ticky-tacky, could go either way. I still would have called it personally, but I guess not. And then this is the one that frustrated me most, though, in the second half, in the third quarter. Huge fight broke out where Deion Dawkins is in the middle of it. And Deion Dawkins was the only Buffalo Bills player involved, I should say. And he basically gets up and then, he's shoved. Kayvon Thibodeaux, this is what sparked out, kicks him. So the refs look at Kayvon Thibodeaux and the Giants defensive end pass rusher, I should say. Kayvon Thibodeaux's kicking and, he's on the ground trying to protect himself by kicking Deion Dawkins, who's up to the ground. And the refs look at him and say, "Oh, it's okay. You kicked, but yeah, go running back. Go back out there. Didn't get ejected. Should have been ejected." And then Deion Dawkins goes over to the corner of the end zone. He thinks it's done, but then he gets basically shoved to the ground and he gets pile drive basically by a Giants defender. And then like three Giants defenders, like Dexter Lawrence, Kayvon Thibodeaux, Leonard Williams, they're all like swarming Deion Dawkins. And he's getting like ganged up on at the corner of the end zone. And then this is the stupid part. The refs, 3 personal foul penalties on the Giants, 1 on the Bills, and they offset. I'm not good at math, but 3 versus 1. Which one should be enforced more? The 3, right? I don't know how it's offset. If one team gets 3 penalties and then the other team gets 1, oh yeah, but it's offsets. No big deal. Everyone go back and offsets. That's total crap. I don't understand that whatsoever. The refs were just really bad in this game. And then injuries. And I'm going to start with a big one. Don't freak out like I did. Josh Allen was checked for a head injury sometime in the second quarter, but he did come in after missing just 2 plays. Kyle Allen just came in and handed off a few times to Latavius Murray and James Cook. I can't remember which one. Whatever. He handed it off 2 times. My heart stopped when he went out. First, he said after game he went out because he injured his throwing shoulder. Imaging and pictures showed nothing. But then he had to stay out for a second play because apparently the spotter above noticed something, pulled him the game to get evaluated for concussion and head injury, like I just said. He was fine, but my heart stopped for a minute there. I mean, I can't handle losing Josh Allen for any amount of time, let alone for the season. So, next, Spencer Brown suffered a knee injury. I don't think he returned to the game. If he did, he was very limited, but from what I saw, I don't think he returned to the game. He suffered a knee injury in that stupid skirmish with the whole offsetting penalties, which again, rest of crap. But when Kayvon Thibodeaux was kicking, and that's probably when he injured it. Next, Cam Lewis suffered a stinger in his neck, I guess, stiff neck, whatever that means. He didn't return to the game. Again, this is pretty significant because if he can't go next week or for any amount of time, Damar Hamlin's up. Any safety that gets injured, then Damar is his time. Damar's a pretty good special teamer, but I just said Cam Lewis can play slot corner, outside corner, safety, free or strong. Elite special teamer, elite gunner, and ace special teamer for years on this team. That's how he makes his bones, if you will, on this team. And then lastly, Damien Harris, kind of touchy subject, but Damien Harris suffered a knee injury or neck injury, didn't return the game. And I don't want to downplay it. It wasn't any usual neck injury. He was taken to a local Buffalo hospital by an ambulance and stretcher for further testing. He has feeling his arms and legs, but he wasn't moving for a solid 3 to 5 minutes on the ground. Thank God he gave a thumbs up because, I mean, we know what we went through last year with the whole Damar thing. And speaking of that, Damar Hamlin was just broken up. You could see him visibly upset. He was about to cry, it looked like. I mean, he's been through that. Obviously, Damien Harris wasn't near the severity of Damar Hamlin, but still, he's been through stuff like that. So I understand why he was broken up about it. But, I mean, I just hope he's okay. It looks like he is, thankfully. Next to my stock report. So we're going to do stack up. Guys that really stood out and guys that really helped themselves. First, I shouldn't have to mention this, but I do because Stefon Diggs, 10 catches for 100 yards. That's 100 by 10 yards per catch. He would have had 135 yards if Josh Allen hit him on that one post route in the second third quarter, I believe it was. Either way, he was wide open. He split the two defenders, and Josh just didn't see him. He overthrew him by like 5 yards, by a mile. So yeah. But Stefon Diggs, I mean, every week he's had at least 100 yards. So week 1 he had 100 yards, and then week 2 he didn't. But week 3, 4, 5, 6, in 5 out of 6 games this year, he's had at least 100 yards. In 4 of those 6 games, I believe he's had at least one touchdown. One of those actually Commanders was 3. But yeah, Diggs, I mean, it's just chalk Diggs have 100 yards at this point. And the next wide receiver, Deontay Hardy, 1 catch, 3 yards. That's whatever. But his 1 catch for 3 yards was a touchdown. I just wish they would use his speed down the field more. Because he clearly has a lot of speed and returns and everything else. Next, tight end, I didn't know I was saying this name, but tight end Quentin Morris, 1 catch, 15 yards, 1 touchdown. And it was a beautiful, beautiful throw. Look at the slow-mo, look at the angles. I mean, Josh on pins and needles, he threw an absolute needle in there. I mean, it was amazing. He was on the move, got out of the pocket, got away from the rushers and defenders, and boom, hit Quentin Morris. And Quentin Morris wasn't like wide open either. He fit it in a tight window. So good on Quentin Morris to get open, and good on Josh Allen to fit in a very tight window. Thread the needle there, if you will. And Quentin Morris stepped into a role without Dalton Kincaid. They rarely went 2 tight end sets, but another kind of ripple effect, if you will, of Kincaid being out was they went a ton of jumbo tight end with David Edwards. If you don't know what that means, it's basically an extra eligible offensive lineman. They check in as eligible. Bobby Hart used to do this for Bills. Tommy Doyle used to do this for the Bills. Now it's David Edwards, and it's worked pretty well. It throws teams off as an extra if you're going jumbo package there. So, but Quentin Morris got a lot more snaps. I don't know about a lot, but he got more snaps, bottom line, for Dalton Kincaid because he was out. Next, obviously, we don't have stats on offensive linemen, but guard O'Cyrus Torrence. I thought the rest of the offensive line was just fine. A few of them were a couple of them really stood out, but the one that really stood out was rookie guard O'Cyrus Torrence. He handled Dexter Lawrence. Other than the fight, I didn't hear his name mentioned at all. He blew up nothing. And I feel like Dexter Lawrence is having a bit of a disappointing season in run fits, run support, and pass rush. But it's still Dexter Lawrence. It's still a top 10 defensive tackle in the league. So O'Cyrus Torrence handled him. I mean, he's been great other than last week against the Jaguars. The moment hasn't seemed too big for this rookie. I mean, the defense, he's gone up with that. He handled with the Commanders, Deron Payne and Jonathan Allen. He handled the Dolphins, Christian Wilkins. He handled with the Giants last night, Dexter Lawrence. I mean, this rookie, this is like a 5 to 10 year starter, hopefully down the line for preferably 10 down the line for your guard spot. And the good thing is for the next 3 years, so this year plus 2 more years, because Connor McGovern 3-year contract, O'Cyrus Torrence 4-year. So for the next 3 to 4 years, we have our guard tandem set. And Ryan Bates also locked up as a key reserve. So we have our guard tandem set with left guard Connor McGovern and right guard O'Cyrus Torrence. And O'Cyrus Torrence was described coming in as a road grader to the draft. I believe it, and I see it. I mean, he's working those defensive tackles really well. And then let's flip over to the defensive stack up who really helped their case. Linebacker Terrell Bernard, 12 tackles and 3 tackles for loss. I feel like he had to carry. Now you have 2 really young linebackers starting, and we'll get to the other one in a second. But he had to carry the load, if you will, with Matt Milano out. With whoever was opposite of him. Matt Milano out, and he played his butt off. Even when Terrell Bernard doesn't get a sack or doesn't have that splashy play, you could see he's juiced. He runs over the field. Now, yes, he has a lot of size limitations at only 6 foot, like 225. And going from Tremaine Edmonds, who was 6'5", 240. Not even comparable. That's like a 5-inch difference in height and like a 20-pound difference in weight. So yeah, but you can't compare that. But I'm just saying, Terrell Bernard I have been highly, highly pleasantly surprised by this. And then his running mate next to him was Dorian Williams, 10 tackles and 1 QB hit. And he didn't force a fumble on Tyrod, but Tyrod, actually no one forced a fumble on Tyrod in the third quarter, or was it fourth? Second half. But he was backing up, and I think he felt Dorian Williams coming. This wasn't the QB yet. The QB yet was separate. I think he saw Dorian Williams coming, and Tyrod kind of panicked. he fell right back on the fumble, but he just dropped it. Like no one hit him or touched him, I should say. But he just dropped it. So Dorian Williams, good thing to affect that. But he was great for Milano. I'll get to like the dynamics of Milano later on in my final thoughts / questions segment, as we do every time, every day after game, I should say, in these recap episodes. But yeah, I mean Dorian Williams, really a rookie starting at weak side linebacker / outside linebacker, and then a second year player, basically a rookie because he barely played last year, and Terrell Bernard starting at middle linebacker. I've been pleasantly surprised by both, especially highly pleasantly surprised by Terrell Bernard. Next, defensive lineman. Defensive end Leonard Floyd. He had 1 sack, 2 QB hits, and 2 tackles. Listen, flow, if you will, as they call him, but Leonard Floyd has 6.5 sacks on the season already. And let's just get to another one. AJ Epinesa, 1 sack, 3 tackles. He might be pressing himself out of Buffalo, guys. Like I've been saying this whole time, I've come around to if AJ Epinesa probably right now is like a $5 to $8 million a year player. The most, if he pushes for 9, fine. The most I'll go up for him is 9 million a year. If he wants 10, 11, 12 million a year, sorry, but you're not going to get it. We'll just resign Leonard Floyd and Shaq Lawson at that point. Speaking of Shaq Lawson, he was another huge winner for me. Stack up. He only had 1 tackle for loss, but he had a couple more QB pressures, and he shot out of a cannon for that tackle for loss. And then defensive end Greg Rousseau, 4 tackles, 2 tackles for loss, and one QB hit. This defensive line is eating, and I know they keep ramping up Von Miller, which I'll talk about later. That's a good thing in my opinion, but touch on more of that later. But yeah, most of this defensive line. So there's only 3 defensive linemen that are locked up for past the season. So everyone else is free agents. So Von Miller, Greg Rousseau, and Oliver locked up. Everyone else is free agents this offseason in Leonard Floyd, AJ Epinesa, Jordan Phillips, Poona Ford, Shaq Lawson, Tim Settle, so everybody. And at Oliver, like I just said, is the only defensive tackle under contract. So maybe you draft one to play behind Phillips and whatever. But yeah, this whole defensive line has been awesome. This is probably the deepest and best defense line under McDermott. And then a couple of secondary players. Taron Johnson, big stack up for me. 15 tackles and 1 pass deflection. That 1 key pass deflection was at the end of the game. And the tackles, I mean, he was like on Madden hit stick mode the whole game. He came up and hit. Surprised he didn't force a couple fumbles. That's how hard he hit. But the pass deflection, most people are going to say, well, that's a hold, horrible no call by the refs when he knocked it out of Darren Waller. Sean McDermott and the coaching staff, they'll never admit this, obviously, but Sean McDermott and the coaching staff were probably telling their guys, hold, do whatever it takes. I mean, it was an untimed down. It was on the 1 yard line. What's the worst that can happen? You do draw a flag by accident, and then they move it from the yard line to the half yard line or a few inches closer. Like, who cares? Do whatever you need. It was an untimed down. What's the worst that can happen? And then cornerback Christian Benford, 3 tackles, 1 tackle for loss, 1 pass deflection. I mean, Christian Benford is a gem in the rough found in the 6th round out of Villanova last year. So, yeah. Next, these are guys that didn't help themselves or hurt themselves. They were just kind of ordinary. They were what they were. First, I have Josh Allen. I hate to say this. I want him to always be in stack up, but I'll get to stats, then I'll expand more. 19 of 30, that's about 63% completion percentage, 169 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, added 11 rushing yards on the ground. Whatever. That 1 interception, I'm trying to remember back to it. How come I can't remember that interception? Oh, yeah, I do. He was targeting number 88. He was targeting Dawson Knox. Sorry, I was just trying to think of the interception. I don't know why. He was targeting number 88. He's targeting tight end Dawson Knox, and it was an easy wide open catch. He hit Dawson Knox tried to hit Dawson Knox, I should say, way too late, and he didn't put enough air under it. It was underthrown and too much zip, and it was thrown late, so he had to throw it much earlier. Totally on him. But the first 3 quarters, like fourth quarter, he clutched up. He led 2 game-winning touchdown drives. Well, you can't be 2 game drives. 2 touchdown drives late, 1 basically game winning. But the first 3 quarters, that doesn't excuse he was pretty terrible. In the first half, he only had like a 44% completion percentage. I mean, he's leading the league in completion percentage. Now, after this week, probably he finished 63%. That's below it league average too, I think. But I believe I should say. But yeah, Josh Allen, I feel like there's a couple avenues where he should have used his legs more. Next, James Cook and Latavius Murray, the running backs. James Cook had 14 carries for 71 yards. It's interesting how they divvied up this work and these touches and these carries per se. I should say, but I'll touch on that later and expand more. But James Cook, 14 carries for 71 yards. Latavius Murray, 12 carries for 45 yards. I still want them to unlock Cook's receiving ability out of the backfield. And Latavius Murray was fine. And then defensive tackle Ed Oliver. I was looking at the box score, and he didn't record a single anything. They don't show QB pressure, so of course he had a couple QB pressures, but they didn't record a single anything on the box score officially. No tackle for loss, no QB at nothing. So maybe in my rewatch I'll see it. I think I'm gonna start rewatching the games, especially for Ed Oliver. But yeah, like he did have a couple nice QB pressures, but then he had a couple flags too. Like last week, he had an unnecessary roughness call against the Jaguars. I didn't agree with that, but he still had it. And then this week, what are you thinking? 19. It's your 5th year in the league, so this is inexcusable. So after a play, it was 3rd and long. 3rd and long, and it was 2nd and whatever, and the pass is incomplete. So it was like 3rd and 15 after that. 3rd and long, and Albert bails him out by headbutting a Giants offensive lineman. I don't know if he was mad. I don't know what the situation was. He damn well wasn't trying to be funny because it wasn't funny. Oh, and another funny thing, Stephon Diggs wanted to get out of his break really quick on the one play. I mean, he ran 20 yards on the field before he realized it was a false start. Back to Ed Oliver. You're headbutting a Giants offensive lineman. What are you thinking? Gives him a free first down. I believe they only got a field goal out of it, but oh my God. Dude, when we're going against the Chiefs, Eagles, Cowboys, Chargers, which we do all play this season, much better teams than the Giants, you gotta stop being boneheaded. I mean, it's just annoying. And then stack down, wide receiver Gabe Davis, 3 catches for 21 yards and a fumble. Now, I'm kind of splitting Gabe Davis because this is his first time since week 1. So weeks 2, 3, 4, and 5, he had a touchdown. He was a red zone monster, but they only targeted him like 4 times, and he had 3 catches. He had a wide open drop too, which the drops are back for Gabe, unfortunately. He's a free agent too. I would go if Gabe wants more than $13 million a year. I'm not gonna do it. Like in my opinion, right now he's an $11 to $13 million a year player. If he wants more than 13, if he wants like 16, 18, or 20, like Mike Williams from the Chargers a couple years ago, sorry, Gabe, but we'll just draft another receiver at that point. I don't know if they lost Ken Dorsey / or Josh Allen, lost trust in him after the fumble. I mean, Gabe Davis, this is how he fumbled it. So, again, 3 catches for 21 yards and a fumble. But this is how he ended up fumbling it because he caught it and he was trying to fight for extra yards. I love you, Gabe, but that's not your game. You're not a run after catch guy. Not even close. You're a catch and go down in a red zone monster. Don't try to get extra yards. You already had the first down. You don't need a few more after that. But he fumbled it. And then tight end Dawson Knox, 3 catches for 17 yards. He had a couple now wide open drops, I should say. He did. He did have a couple wide open drops. The interception wasn't his fault. Josh Allen put too much zip. He needed to put more air under it, and he needed to throw it way earlier to Knox, who he was targeting, of course. But yes, I know on that 3rd down would it basically iced the game. I'll talk about that situation later. But on the 3rd down, where literally would have iced the game, you could kneel it out. Josh Allen threw it. He kind of skipped it. It was a tad. It was pretty low, but I mean, Dawson Knox had both hands on it. You're an NFL tight end. You got to bring that in. And then he had another drop. So Gabe Davis and Dawson Knox had a few drops combined, and I just didn't like when they were targeted that they couldn't get it done. And then kicker Tyler Bass, he was 2 of 2 on extra points, so that's good. But he was 0 of 2 on field goals today. We would have not we would have won 20-9 and not even be in that highly stressful situation. Yes, it still would have been a close. Actually, no, 11 points. It still would have been a stressful evening, but yeah, you got to make those 2 field goals, leaving 6 points on the board. I mean, Tyler Bass is one of the best kickers in the league. His leg is like equivalent to Josh Allen's arm. He can boom it. But I don't know what it was. There was no wind. There was no rain basically all night. Yes, he did miss a 52-yarder and 54-yarder, but he bombed 60-yarders if he has to. So that's just disappointing. And then the last 2 year kind of situation. I should say this next one here isn't a player, but offensive coordinator Ken Dorsey. Or no. I'll talk about Ken Dorsey in a minute. First, I want to talk about cornerback Kaiir Elam. He only had 3 tackles on the night. And he drew a flag for pass interference, but the other times he was just leaving receivers wide open. His best ability, I've been told, and I know, is his ability to jam receivers off the line, jam receivers off their release, and get in their face and play man-to-man like he did at Florida. Okay, then do that. He's playing back. Okay, he's playing back. Get in their face. If that's your best attribute and ability, show us. I just don't know with Kaiir. My whole thing is if the Bills knew that, so he came from a man-to-man system and scheme, defensive scheme at Florida, and then he transitions to a zone scheme with the Bills. Well, you can't just change a guy. So if you knew he wasn't going to fit your scheme, why did you draft him in the first round? Traded 2 picks for him, and technically you picked him a pick before Dalton Kincaid, different years, but point still remains. So. Next, offensive coordinator Ken Dorsey. I was just out of order there. Offensive coordinator Ken Dorsey. What are we doing? I know mine range Josh in, but in the first 3 quarters, he was way too conservative. 1-yard pass, 2-yard pass, 5-yard pass, 7-yard pass, and they were all the digs. I'll touch on involvement with the other weapons in a minute, but like, what I don't get it. And then quit it. You need to stop, Ken Dorsey. Stop with the second and long shotgun runs. Or second and goal shotgun runs, I should say. Either, actually. First of all, when you're on the 2-yard line, just do the little stupid tush push that the Eagles do. And if you don't get it, come back. You have 2 more tries after that. 3 if you go for a 4th, which they probably would have in that situation to ice the game. But you're on second and goal from the 2-yard line, and you're lining up in shotgun. Empty backfield. Shotgun is where the quarterback is way far back. I want to see Josh Allen line up, Ken Dorsey have Josh Allen line up under center way more than he rarely is. That's when he's like brought up to Mitch Morse. Right? You know, Mitch was here, he's right there. As opposed to Mitch was here, he's way back here. Josh Allen is lethal, deadly, elite, whatever high level adjective you want to use under center and under play action. Use both those attributes way more than you are. And then if you do line up a shotgun, throw it. Like, don't waste it. What is with 2nd and 15, second and long, up in shotgun runs? Absolutely nothing. That does absolutely nothing. Oh, you gain a yard, 2. In most cases, you lose yards. I mean, that's just not good scheme. That's just. I feel like Ken Dorsey has trouble evolving, and I feel like the 4th quarter drives are more Josh Allen than Ken Dorsey. He's so stuck in his game plan. I feel like he has trouble adjusting, and it's a real struggle. Next, penalties. No, a few of these penalties, like the stupid Deion Dawkins one, the Spencer Brown in the beginning, were unacceptable, and the refs. Not on us. You can live with that, but Ed Oliver headbutting and Giants offensive lineman, headbutting. What are you doing? And then Kaiir Elam, you're supposed to be this great man corner, press corner, and what are you doing? You get a pass interference call. And O'Cyrus Torrence had a couple false starts and a false start and a holding, actually, I believe. He still played a great game. Didn't really affect much, but they just stalled. And another thing, I didn't really have this on my stock down, but I guess I'll mention it. Two things. The slow starts in these games. Once you play these high-powered offenses, we don't have time for this friggin' slow starts in the first half. And even went first 3 quarters, you could say. Actually, no, you could say it did. So, I mean, what are these slow starts in the first half? It was 6-0. We have so much trouble getting off to a hot start these last couple of weeks against the Jaguars, and now obviously the Giants. I mean, you got to get off to a better start. And then early down production. So first and second down production. And like I said, second long shotgun run, but first down incomplete or a complete 2-yard pass or 3-yard pass to Stefon Diggs most of the night. I don't get it. The flow starts in the first and second down production. We're always in third and long. We're always in 3rd and 8, 3rd and 11, 3rd and 13, 3rd and 10. We're always in 3rd and long situations. The first down production is just not there. Lastly, for stock down, lack of involvement for weapons other than Stefon Diggs. I alluded to this a couple times, and now to I unleash the take, if you will. I love Stefon Diggs, so don't misinterpret this. I love Stefon Diggs. He's the best thing that could have happened for Josh Allen's development. But Josh Allen attempted 16 passes in the first half. 11 of those targets were to Stefon Diggs. And the one time he targeted Dawson Knox, there was an interception. And I don't know if Josh Allen lost confidence in Gabe Davis because of the fumble, but he was barely used. I love Stefon Diggs, though, but come on. You have speed in Deontay Hardy and Trent Sherfield. You have a guy that can play slot and outside in Khalid Shakir. He only has a catch. Dawson Knox, only 3 catches. Gabe Davis, only 3 catches. I mean, this offense is too much Josh Allen and Stefon Diggs. It's obviously not fitting because they're top 5 in like every metric. Total points in the season, average points per game, total yards in the season, total average yards per game. It's obviously clearly not affecting them, but once once Dalton Kincaid comes back, especially, he's going to be in the mix as well. And people want Jerry Jeudy, that's great, but I'm already complaining about the usage of other weapons, so I don't want Jerry Jeudy. We can't even get weapons going other than Stefon Diggs, let alone anyone else entering the mix. So I love Diggs. I just spread the love, if you will. Next, we're going to do my awards. So, a big slice of the game award. So, a player that really stood out to me, a player that really showed out. And I don't want to give, unless I have to, I don't want to give it to Josh Allen and Stefon Diggs. But Josh Allen was in mix, so he wouldn't even deserve it this game. But Stefon Diggs is Stefon Diggs. It's basically chalk at this point that he'll get 100 yards every game. But big slice of the game award for me goes to guard Osiris Torres. He manhandled, basically, other than a holding call and a false start call in the same drive. I believe it was 2 plays in a row, actually. He handsomely handled, am I saying that right? He favorably handled Dexter Lawrence. I mean, he was a no-show, basically. So, I mean, awesome. And then my next award, my analogy, I always define it as this. Say you go to this nice pizza shop every, let's say, Friday night with your friends or family or both. And you're expecting such high quality. It's always so good. And this one Friday night, this one week, all of a sudden it comes back burnt, and you're wondering why. And it was a disappointing slice of pizza or slices of pizza. So, hence, my burnt slice of the game award goes to cornerback Kaiir Elam. Unfortunately, it went to him last week as well. I just don't understand like the philosophy of even drafting him, but then when he gets on the field, he just looks lost most of the time. So, yeah. Next, getting towards the end here. Next, I want to reflect on my 5-game predictions from the preview. So last Thursday's preview, so 4 days ago. So first, I predicted Stefon Diggs has 3 touchdowns. That didn't happen. He didn't even have 1, which is rare. Next, Dawson Knox has at least 50 receiving yards and a touchdown. Didn't happen. He only had 3 catches for 17 yards and not even close to a touchdown. They need to involve him way more. Third, Ed Alvarez, a sack and multiple QB hits / tackles for loss. Not even close. Didn't happen. He had a couple QB pressures, but that doesn't show up in the stat sheet and box score. And then second to last, the Bills defense has double-digit sacks on the day. Didn't happen. I think they only had 2 or 3 on the day. So, yeah. And then lastly, Bills won the game 42-10. Didn't happen. Well, the Bills won the game, but nowhere near the score I predicted. So I'm going to give myself half a point for that, but 0.5 out of 5. So let's see. What's that hit rate? And I'm terrible on these predictions this year, but 0.5. 0.5 divided by 5. Well, that's lovely. 10%. 10% hit rate on my predictions from the previous week. Oh, no, wait. 0.5 divided by 5 times 100. Yeah, okay. 10%. I'm terrible. Terrible. At the end of the season, when I recap all these, it's going to be like 10 to 15%. But whatever. Next, final thoughts. Those questions. I got quite a few here on certain position groups, certain situations, coaches, whatever. James Cook and Latavius Murray getting nearly the same amount of carries was surprising and something that I was not expecting. So, James Cook was announced as the starter, where they say their name, James Cook from Georgia. And quiet guy, but James Cook from Georgia, where they say on NBC with Chris Collinsworth and Mike Tirico there. But he was announced as the starter, but Latavius Murray got a bulk of the carries in the first half, and I wasn't really understanding why. But Cook 14 carries, Murray 12 carries. I guess Murray will have to be even more now. With thankfully Damien Harris is okay, but he probably will go on IR unfortunately. But yeah, it's surprising that Cook only got 2 more carries than Murray, and they were using Murray mostly in the first half. Next thought, if you will. Offensive weapon other than Stefon Diggs need to be more involved. I kind of already explained that, but I feel like this offense needs more balanced with run and pass. And when you do pass, it needs to be more spread around to guys other than Stefon Diggs. Next thought, the Bills continue. Now, obviously, the Bills are continuing to be pretty cautious with defensive end Von Miller, which is good. We need him for the stretch on weeks like 12 onward, including the playoffs. We don't need him right now because we have Greg Rousseau, AJ Epinesa, Leonard Floyd, Kingsley Jonathan's a nice young developmental piece. Shaq Lawson, nice steady veteran presence. And Von Miller's tied to this franchise for 4 more years. I don't know. I mean, I doubt he plays out that contract. Maybe he retires for then, but contractually 4 more years. So we got to keep him fresh at 34 years old. Next thought, no one... This isn't a knock. It's just something I noticed. No one really emerged at second starting defensive tackle spot next to Ed Oliver in place of Daquan Jones. So Jordan Phillips, Tim Settle, and Poona Ford. No one. This is Poona Ford's first game not being a healthy scratch. So first game actually being active since week 1. Because weeks 2, 3, 4, and 5, he was inactive. But Jordan Phillips, Tim Settle, I've been highly disappointed with them, especially Tim Settle. He's done nothing for this franchise. And don't say health because he only missed 1 game in 2 years with this franchise, which was last year, obviously. But he's done nothing. So someone's got to emerge next to Ed Oliver when we play these tough running backs. And by the way, the run defense was a little bit leaky now. There's a lot of context that goes into it here. They let him have those short yards late in the game, but it was a little leaky. I think Saquon had like 24 carries for 93 yards. He clearly was on no pitch count after he missed 3 weeks with a high ankle sprain. But yeah. And then you're never going to replace a player like Matt Milano, but it went pretty well for the first time without him. All things considered. Keywords, all things considered. You're never going to replace Matt Milano, but Dorian Williams played pretty well. Personally, I wouldn't take him off the field for Tyrell Dodson. Dorian Williams, I already missed him already. Dorian Williams provides much more upside. He provides much more athleticism. He doesn't provide like downhill ability, but he showed that he can get after the quarterback. He had a QB hit today, as I mentioned earlier. Lastly, this is kind of like an observation philosophical thing. The Bills seem to be changing their philosophy on younger guys. So in the past, McDermott has gotten, and Bean, but mainly McDermott because he's out there coaching up the guys. McDermott has gotten some flack, if you will, including myself, that he doesn't play younger guys. It took a while for AJ Epinesa to get some playing time and get going. Boogie Basham is not on his team anymore. I don't think he even played for the Giants last night. He wasn't a healthy scratch and active, but he just didn't. Boogie Basham, AJ Epinesa, Greg still played right away, but I think they're now on younger guys. They're having huge impacts, these younger guys. So you got rookies in Dalton Kincaid, Osiris Torrance, and Dorian Williams who are starting now. And you have guys, James Cook, Terrell Bernard, and Christian Benford, who are also starting. You're getting everyone thinks this team has a veteran group. Gabe Davis, veteran, Dawson Knox, Stefon Diggs, and mainly Josh Allen, year 6. It's crazy to say, but younger guys are contributing in rookies and those second-year players, like I just mentioned. Next, AFC East check-in. How did the AFC East fare this week? Wild games this weekend, by the way. There was a lot of subpar QB play yesterday, I should say. AFC East check-in. So Bills versus Giants. I'd say Bills win 14-9. Not ideal. Very much a definition of a win is a win. Ugly win, but we'll take it. Even Josh Allen said that. Dolphins versus Panthers. Dolphins win 42-21. The Panthers are just playing around. The first 5 minutes of the game, they scored 2 really quick touchdowns. So it was 14-0. And after that, Raheem Mostert, Tyreek Hill, and Jalen Waddle torched the Panthers. Most had 3. So Dolphins win 42-21. Next, the Dolphins went on a 42-7 run. So next, Patriots at Raiders. Raiders win 21-17. I have a feeling Mac Jones going to be benched for Bailey Zappi next week. I mean, it's brutal. And then Jets versus Eagles. Jets won 20-14. Hurts was rushing things. Very rare to see Hurts. Hurts threw 3 interceptions. The Jets defense is legit, even without their top 2 corners in Sauce Gardner and DJ Reed, both out due to concussions, which is surprising. But even more surprising, they still balled out and they played elite defense still. But it just, I don't know what that was. It just goes to show you in the NFL that a win is a win, and it can be ugly sometimes. I mean, the Browns just beat the 49ers, who were 5-0, and the Browns were 2-3. But the Browns just beat the 49ers with PJ Walker, a practice squad could be third string last week behind Dorian Thompson-Robinson, but PJ Walker just beat the 49ers, and the Jets just beat the Eagles. But Jets beat Eagles 20-14. Here are the AFC standings after week 5. Dolphins are in first at 5-1. Bills are in second, right behind them at 4-2. Jets a little step down, 3-3, and Patriots way step down in fourth, 1-5. Patriots are nothing. Jets are kind of sneaky, but this is going to come down to this division. I'm expecting to come down to week 18. Whoever wins, Bills and Dolphins. I mean, that's going to be an electric game in Miami. But hopefully we can handle it. Anyways, guys, this has been a recap of Bills Giants. Like I said, it's the very definition of a win is a win, ugly win, like Josh Allen and McDermott said, but we'll take it. What's next for this podcast? So today is Monday, October 16th. So I will see you guys in 3 days. Oh, yeah, 3 days, Thursday, October 19th for the Bills Patriots preview. Expecting that to be close, but we'll still go in depth with the preview. Few plugs. You can follow me on Twitter at 8Weingartner13. You can follow the podcast on Twitter at Around Slice for any updates, scheduling updates, I should say. And then if you want to be so kind, you can you can contribute to my Patreon for just $3 a month. You get extra exclusive content. For example, at Power Rankings every Tuesday. So tomorrow, I'll do Power Rankings 1 through 32, looking at a whole view scale of the league. So it's patreon.com/aroundtheslice. Put that in the description, YouTube, audio. And speaking of that, you can listen to this podcast on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Have a great rest of your day and week. And I'll talk to you guys Thursday with the Bills Patriots preview. This has been the Bills Giants recap. Bye.